Good afternoon again. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are getting back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But first, some brief disclaimers and the trigger warning. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, pertinent links will be there in the description box for you, with what I hope are some helpful labels so that you know what you're clicking on. So if you want to do a deep dive on the Judge Rotenberg Education Center yourself, sorry I kind of flubbed my words there. It's one of those autistic fog brain type of days. You can absolutely do so. We do encourage it. Trigger warnings. We do have this channel marked not for kids for a reason. When we talk about places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center, Agape Boarding School, Circle of Hope, Tobin World, Kanakuk Camp, and all the places like it, you are going to hear some vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you do have someone watching this who is 16 and younger, parental supervision is very much advised. Also, for the same reason parental supervision is advised, we do use profanity on the channel as well. Another warning. When dealing with the JRC trying to defend themselves, what you usually end up with is a whole lot of victim blaming, character assassination, and an absolute obsession of literally trying to beat down anybody who comes against them by listing all the behaviors of their students as though it gives them the excuse to continue to put them in human shock collars. For those of us who've gone through trauma, who have been abused, and I've yet to meet a single neurodivergent who hasn't in some capacity and in some way. I mean, I've gotten triggered, more than likely. You might be triggered as well, so here's a heads up, folks. Try and brace yourselves if you can, because what we're about to cover is coming from the parent group that we've already dealt with on this channel. And yes, it's another copy-paste job. It's the same letter we've literally gone over numerous times. But since I like to be thorough, here we are again. I'm going to read the whole thing, and then, as usual, going to dissect it and explain why it's wrong with my usual flawless logic. Alright, dear Commissioner Califf, I write on the behalf of the parents of the patients at the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center Incorporated and the 52 JRC patients with life-threatening behavior disorders who currently receive treatment with the electrical stimulation devices known as GED devices as part of their comprehensive court-approved applied behavior analysis treatment plans for their severe refractory self-injurious behavior, aggressive behavior. Dude, take a goddamn breath when you're writing this. Holy God. Wow. Please never allow me to actually have to be in the room with the person who writes this, because, like, it's migraine-inducing just to read that. Holy crap. First off, let's start major behavioral disorders. For the last damn time, autism is not a behavioral disorder. Now, I know that might be shocking to some of you folks, because every time the media talks about anything in regards to autism, it's all they talk about. Literally. But you skim and it's weird and you talk different and you get weird when it comes to sensory and shut up. We're tired. Alright? We get and understand the fact that there are people who think we are weird, damaged, whatever. Okay? We've dealt with it our whole lives. Okay? However, that does not make autism a behavioral disorder. Even though it does affect behavior. You can have a developmental disability that does affect your behavior without it being a behavioral disorder. Autism is one of those cases. What makes it different is where these behaviors are stemming from. It's a side product. It's not the main factor. Okay? What we have are developmental delays. And depending on the autistic, where those delays are, how they affect us and how they affect our behavior is different as night and day, as different as one set of fingerprints from another. Okay? In and of itself, autism is not a behavioral disorder diagnosis. The reason why people get confused is because the behaviors is literally the only thing they harp on, with maybe a small smattering of getting into the sensory issues. Very rarely do we actually get into the meat of the fact that there are developmental delays that are going on that will make communication difficult, that will make socializing on the same tier and level as our non-neurodivergent peers difficult. Thus behaviors. Thus creating self-soothing techniques that appear weird to everybody else, but in actuality harm no one. Okay? It is a developmental disorder. Okay? It starts here. It's usually hereditary. If you got one person who's neurodivergent in the family, more than likely it's because you come from a string of neurodivergence, because contrary to popular belief and what they show you in the media, wouldn't you know it, neurodivergent folks go on dates, they get married, they have kids. More often than not, we're dating one another. Usually, especially if you're someone like me, after a string of trying to date neurotypicals. Oh my God. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna be nice. I swear I'm gonna be nice. But yeah, it's a developmental disorder. It is not a behavioral disorder. Behaviors that you see come from the fact of developmental delays. Okay? Among other things. God, I have said that so many times. Good Lord. I'm going to be senile someday. I know it. I'm going to be there in my nursing home. And they're be like, yeah, but Tiffany has this behavioral disorder. I have a developmental delay. Bring me my prune juice. Prune juice. Tiffany, you keep twisting your ponytail holder on your hand. Purchase! I have to bring in at least a little bit of levity. These are some pretty hard topics, folks. Alright? I say this because it annoys me. And it's the severe refractory self-injurious behavior. No one is downplaying self-injurious or aggressive behavior. We're saying replacing self-abuse with having a direct care staff abuse you instead is not medicine, and in actuality, the only thing in the situation that is changing is the type of injuries received. It doesn't actually make anything better, any more than when they used to spank us kids back in the day would make us, less reckless and stupid. I still argue that it actually made us angry, and when you're angry, you do stupid things, so we would become even more reckless, more stupid. And by the way, folks, if you don't think that us neurodivergents do not have a rebellion streak within us, please allow me to disavow you of such a silly notion. Who knows? My mom could probably do her own podcast on some of the stupid crap I have done over the years and the stress that I have caused her because of my own version of a rebellious streak. Okay? Just saying. Okay, let me continue on here. We want a meeting before you propose anything that would harm our loved ones. Your kids are on a device known to cause second and third degree burns. On a device that was so powerful and caused so much pain, it put one of the students out for 2 months into a catatonic coma, with accompanying photographs with the second and third degree burns on his arms, abdomen, and his legs. But it sounds like you don't care about that kind of harm to your loved one. Well, isn't that better than them banging their heads or gouging their eyes out? I don't know. That depends. Do you believe it is better that your kid develops a heart issue down the line because when they were a developing teen, they had a group of sadists shock them with such high voltage of electricity that it is actually literally just below the lethal limit? Would you say that that is preferable, that they develop heart issues and God knows what else type of health issues down the line? You think that that is better than what one receives during self-injuries? Because I'm sorry, but it's the same picture. Okay? It's the same picture. Just because in one scenario the damage is being done by a direct care staff does not mean that it isn't harm. This is something that they cannot seem for the life of them to be able to get through their heads. Right? Yeah, I was going to go through the entirety of this letter, but it is one of those days, and if I get into it too much, I may have to have quality time with the punching bag, the climbing machine, and the weights. And I already worked out today. I don't need to, like, kill my body any more than I already do. So we're going to cut this one short and go ahead and close out. We don't get very many views from this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea absolutely do hope you have a good one. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye, everyone.